Do you feel like a plant parent failure? I still feel like that sometimes, so we'll commiserate together. But sometimes it just seems to go out of control. You may have so many plants you can't keep up with them all. Or your evil twin does something that disrupts the process. Let's talk about common problems we all face as new plant parents and how to fix them. There are two types of issues you can have. One is care-based and the other common diseases and pests. The latter can take advantage of your new plants. Let's look at some of the common issues to look out for and how to fix them if you're experiencing them now. Possible causes of brown leaf tips like this on my peace lily can include over or underwatering. Dry air or a lack of humidity or high temperatures with direct light can also cause brown tips. Overfeeding can also be a culprit. This one in particular was due to some underwatering issues. I noticed it wilted and checked the soil and it had gotten too dry between the last watering. Underwatering can shorten the time your plant is in bloom too. To remedy this, keep yourself on a regular schedule every couple of days to check the soil all the way around the plant. One side could be drier than another, so it's best to stick your 3-in-1 meter into the soil in a couple of places to ensure an overall accurate reading. 4 possible causes of yellow or reddish spotted leaves include underfeeding, over or underwatering, cold drafts, or leaves natural shedding. I see the reddish spots on plants like fiddle-leaf figs. This is called edema. It's when they take up too much water at one time before it transpires. It can show up as bumps, blisters, or reddish spots on the leaves. To remedy this, gradually increase the light intensity and move it to a brighter indirect light within 2 weeks, expanding each day's length. Keep your plant on a regular fertilization schedule because plants that have low potassium and calcium can be affected by edema. Also, to check the soil's moisture level, use your 3-in-1 plant meter and see if the soil is soaked. If so, remove the plant, roots and all, out of the grower pot. Wrap the root area in some old newspaper to soak up the moisture. Once the excess water is soaked out, replace it in a grower pot. The next time you water, add some 3% hydrogen peroxide at a rate of 1 to 10 parts water. This solution will prevent the roots from suffering from any bacteria or fungus issues. If it's winter and your plant's leaves are yellowing, check to make sure it's not near a cold draft or a cooling vent that could stun it. Keep the temperatures around it normal and no sudden temperature changes. Now, a leaf here and there at the bottom of your plant turning yellow is a natural occurrence. It was one of the first to grow and eventually have completed its photosynthesis job and will finally drop off, especially if the upper leaves are shading it and they're getting more bright light. So no worries in these cases. Some plants will drop their leaves in the protest of their new environment. It's not you. Fiddle-leaf figs are like little old men. They get cranky and they don't like to be moved around all over the house. Set him and leave him in his place. No musical chairs with this one. Crotons are often the same way. They can be contrary and their leaves will let you know they're not happy. Find the best place for them and let them settle in for a few days and it should recover. If not, it may be too little light. In my case, my poor umbrella plant, I call her Mary Poppins, let me know within weeks she wasn't getting bright enough indirect light. My home is a little too dark to keep her happy, so she's on my screened-in porch now since the weather has warmed and she seems to be recovering. If it's not an environmental change, check for pests on your plant. If you find you have a pest infestation, apply an insecticidal soap solution and try to get off all the pests initially. Then follow the manufacturer's directions for the frequency of application. You may even have to repot it at some point to rid the soil of any pests too. Spots on leaves can ruin the look of the leaves, of course. The type of spot you have can be sufficient to indicate what's going on. For instance, is it a dark brown spot or a dry patch? A dark brown indicates overwatering, and the dry patch means underwatering. Pale spots can be from using hard water when you mist. Some pests like thrips and leafhoppers can leave the leaves with spots too. You may need to look closely when investigating so you can assess the best treatment. I want to introduce you to Kim and Kanye, who are both in the same pot. These are my two sansevierias, often referred to as snake plants. Aren't they sexy? One of the leaves here has gone a little bit rogue, but what can you expect? They had a little bit of a mishap in the winter months. They got fungus gnats. That's right, those nasty tiny flies that fly around your head and annoy you. Now, my evil twin took care of the watering while I was out volunteering, doing my best to make the world a little brighter. She got a little lazy and did not take the pot to the sink and water, but left it in its cachet pot. Let me remind you that snake plants do not like moist or wet soil constantly. So the evil twin is a lazy bum and did not lift the plant out of the cachet pot and let them drain properly. She claims that she didn't give it that much water, but it's apparent that she did. So I had to clean up the mess. Did you know that female fungus gnats lay up to 150 eggs each? So can you imagine what I had to deal with? I was swatting gnats every 5 seconds. It wasn't very pleasant. It made me want to hiss at my snake plants, but it was not their fault that someone in this house failed them. After many days of trying different homemade remedies, I came up with the final and best solution. I repotted them with new soil. They are doing so much better now. I used cacti and succulent soil to repot them at the same depth as before, and for a little extra safety measure, I sprayed the soil surface with neem oil. I also sprinkled mosquito bits on the top of the soil for good measure, which also helps kill fungus gnats. It's a non-toxic substance made into a granular form that contains Bacillus thuringiensis, or BT for short. It is a species of bacteria that lives in the soil naturally. It makes proteins that are toxic to some insects when eaten, but not others. The good news is it is not harmful to humans or wildlife. So when you water the soil, they release the organic substance that will kill the larvae deep down. And by the way, that's where the fungus gnats lay their eggs, deep down into the soil. It takes 17 days for the eggs to turn into adult gnats. I also use one of these yellow sticky traps to catch them too. You peel off the protective cover and stick them down into your soil, and the fungus gnats will eventually fly and land on it. It's like standing in quicksand for them. They can't get off of it. And a happy note is you're not swatting fungus gnats anymore. So the moral of the story is don't get lazy when you're watering your plants. Take the time to let them drain sufficiently. Take them out of your decorative container into the sink to drain. Don't set them back into the cachet pot with no drainage hole until it has completely drained. Use your 3-in-1 plant meter and check the moisture in the soil deep down in its roots before adding water. Let's talk about curling leaves. I'm showing it here on my Calathea White Fusion. I think this one got stressed and the soil wasn't kept moist consistently enough, in addition to not having enough humidity. The stress made it susceptible to spider mites. You may be able to see them on the underside of the leaf. They are very tiny sap-sucking insects. The foliage loses its color like shown and the leaves will fall off. I've tried to get rid of spider mites before and haven't had much luck, unfortunately. You can add neem oil at first signs to see if it will destroy the attack. And be sure to quarantine your plant so it doesn't spread to the other plant babies. This is a dreaded one, root rot. You'll notice the plant wilts and will not recover even when you water it. It's a fungus that attacks the roots and can be caused by neglect of underwatering or overloving it by overwatering. You may even smell the rot around the roots. Lift the plant out of the grower pot and examine the roots for signs of dark brown or black slimy decay. It is nasty and you can't miss it. At this point, pitch the plant in the trash, wash the container thoroughly using Clorox, and don't reuse the soil. To prevent this from happening in the future, use the correct soil mix for your plant and stay on a consistent watering schedule. Again, use your 3-in-1 plant meter to help give you an indication of the moisture beneath the surface. So many times our plants are moist around the roots, but our fingers aren't long enough to get all the way down, and we tend to give them water before they're ready. You'll earn the Green Thumb Award by using this little gadget. It's so smart it can give you 3 different readings to keep your plants looking green and healthy. First, it's a moisture meter. Toggle the switch to moisture and penetrate the soil with the probes down to the root system. It will give you a reading of numbers that indicates if it's on the wet or the dry side. Second, it's a light meter. Set the probe in the soil facing the brightest light to get a good reading on whether your plant will receive enough sunlight in its current place. Next, if you're gardening outside, you'll want to make sure the soil's pH value is appropriate for your landscape plants. This 3-in-1 pH, moisture, and light meter will take all the guessing out of gardening, giving you all the information you need. Neem oil is an excellent all-around pesticide and fungicide plant-based product from the evergreen neem tree. The seeds of the plant are cold pressed to produce the oil. You can buy it in a spray bottle or concentrate. I bought the concentrate and used my spray bottle to apply it. Now, if you have had one of these issues, leave comments below and tell us if your plant's recovered. If you have any suggestions for other diseases or pests you have a hard time with, let us know below. I hope this helps you feel more confident about taking care of your plants and gives you a heads up on what to do when your plant is sick. Until the next time, have a lively day.